Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you're in the world. Welcome to X-Planet Live. My name is Lionel Miranda, and today, folks, we are going to review all the lists that are coming out to the AoS Invitational that we are holding this coming Saturday. Now, this is a culmination of 5 months of events, and the top 16 players, or at least the top 16 that are available, will be coming out this weekend to battle for the top prizes. This should be a lot of fun. This is about, I think maybe the 5th or 6th event or series we've held with AoS, and it is always a lot of fun to do. But this is the first time we're actually breaking down all the lists. The channel's not that old. We actually just made 1 year. Thank you very much for everyone who has supported us up to this point. Been a very, very cool journey all in all. Now, when we're talking events, let me look at my notes. When we're talking events, one of the coolest trophies, and one that is certainly very coveted, at least by 2 people, is the Best Franco Award. Now, if you've not heard of the Best Franco Award, well, let me tell you, these are 2 brothers that are absolute rabid fans of the game, and every year they compete for the title of Best Franco. Currently, right now, Jonathan Franco is Best Franco of 2025, but is he going to be Best Franco of 2026? We just do not know. We just do not know. If you want to find out, you want to hit that subscribe button so you can follow the journey of the Francos. But currently, right now, Jonathan is leading. Now, assuming he doesn't get eliminated in the first round, and his brother does, he will cinch the title of Best Franco, ergo winning the very coveted, right, look, right here. That's right, the very coveted, Gaio, you can put a little beat on that right there, trophy, Best Franco, that's right. Now, you would think that's some sort of 3D printed little bit of just trash, but you'd be mistaken, sir, or ma'am, or possibly whatever. This is a handcrafted by elves, possibly the South Pole elves, and with care and due diligence, they honed their skills on this trophy, and yes, only one Franco will be able to take it home, or at least for 1 year. So we'll see whether it's going to be a Jonathan or whether it's going to be a David. It'll be a fratricide happening one way or the other this coming Saturday. So that'll be a lot of fun. And then what else we need to talk about? Well, it will be a 4-round event. So we got 16 players, and every round we go from 16 to 8 to 4 to 2. Why? Because it's an elimination style event. Every round that the players advance, the prize gets bigger for them. Everyone invited to the actual event will win $50 in-store credit. And then for every round, they gain another $50 in in-store credit. So that would be what? That would be $250 for the top player, because it's 4 rounds, right? 200, yeah, and then he wins it, $250. And then, of course, we'll be handing out really cool trophies as well. So something to keep an eye for. We'll post it in the socials so you guys get to check it out. But this should be a lot of fun. All right, so we got the Best Francos out of the way. Let's talk about some interesting statistics that came out of this little thing. So, Gaio, if you could do me a favor, my friend, if you could go to drops, that would be much appreciated. All right, so that slide should be popping up on the screen. One very interesting thing is 2 drops seem to be very, very popular. Out of the 16 players that are participating in the event, 6 of them have gone with 2-drop lists. As we proceed across the screen, you'll notice obviously the least common is 4 drops, with the next most common being 5-drop lists. Now, I honestly thought 5 drops are going to be even a little bit more common than it indicates here, but we're still in early days, and I'm not sure everyone's necessarily appreciating the nuances of having a high drop list. I know a lot of my lists have moved over to 5 drops. I've been putting small heroes all alone, all by their lonesome in regiments, just to increase the drops. Now, why would you do that? Well, if you increase drops in the new season, well, if you have more regiments as well, sorry, not increased drops, but if you have more regiments than your opponent, you get a reroll for priority. And a reroll for priority is a big deal. So for armies that can, they can craft lists that don't really care about deciding initiative or priority. They're completely fine with either going first or second. It doesn't matter to them. But really, they can leverage that reroll. And if you do the math a little bit on it, and I'm not saying I've done it, but if you get to go first, you obviously break ties on priority. If you also get a reroll, that bumps up the math to something like 70% odds in your favor for deciding priority on the turn you need it. And that is a very big deal. Obviously, low drops still a thing, and we'll definitely be reviewing some lists where drops and deciding who has priority will, of course, matter. But it looks like it's going to be the extremes. It's either going to be as low as 2 drops or as high as 5. We had 0 1-drop lists. I think the age of the 1-drops have pretty much been pretty eliminated at this point. And now the 3 and 4s are an interesting choice. I'm not sure if 4 drops will ever be something you'll want to aim for, especially when you're that close to 5, just to make sure that you can get that reroll. But I mean, it is a choice for sure. All right, so that's drops. We're gonna go into, let's go to slide number 2, Gaio. Let's talk battle tactics. Now, battle tactics, very interesting. If you're looking at that graph, the one great thing is all the battle tactics are being used. This is only a field of 16 players, folks, so it's not very big. But all the battle tactics are being used. Now, overwhelmingly, Scouting Force is the most popular choice for battle tactics. And if I'm not mistaken, that's just getting 3 units outside of your own territory, basically, into neutral territory or past halfway point of the table. The next most popular, very obviously, as you look at your screen, is Master of the Paths. Then Restless Energy, being a very popular choice as well. I believe that one's about basically taking over an objective that was controlled by your opponent. Intercept and Recover, which is affectionately known as the Treasures type style event or battle tactic. Player picks 3 and you have to 3 of their units and then give a treasure to each one of them, and then you just have to kill those units with the treasures to score tactics. Then we got Wrathful Cycles, and then Attune to Gairan. Only one singular player picked Attune to Gairan as one of the battles. It's funny. People been going on about, I can't believe that this is a popular choice or this is the wrong choice, and they felt that there was going to be tactics that would be the out-and-out default. And I think that I'm going to give more credit to the designers. I think all of them are good. I understand that some of you might not think, for instance, Wrathful Cycles is great because you have to be an underdog at that point. I've been running a list with Attune to Gairan and Wrathful Cycles. And Wrathful Cycles, I think the first one is just control more tactics than your opponent. And then you have to be underdog going into the second one. I have not had an issue scoring either one of those 2 tactical paths, if you will. So I think really what it's all about is your design of your army. It's not that one is so much better than the other, so much as your army adapting to a particular battle tactic. And I think in the end, all of them become useful. Through the games I have had played, I've been finding that the slowness of my armies have mattered less. This is something that some of the guys had mentioned on various channels. I can confirm that, or at least anecdotally confirm it. I've only played a handful of games myself. I'm only at 6 or 7, give or take, right now. Yeah, I thought that maybe my Magican, for instance, that are just slow moving, no longer have field sergeant, would have a hard time scoring, but it doesn't seem that's the case, which is, I think, a victory. I think a sign of a pretty amazing design that these battle tactics seem to be very, very inclusive. And all you have to do is, grab the tactic that most benefits or complements the style of the list that you're using. So although Scouting Force is by far the most popular, that would almost make sense. A lot of people haven't necessarily adapted their list to change to the new meta. So things that were fast before, that were winning them games, are being carried over into this new season. And of course, Scouting Force benefits those armies very, very well. So we'll see whether the slow and purposeful armies have a lot more game, but it feels currently right now that they do. So Fire Slayers back on the menu, Iron Jaws, a whole bunch of Ard Boys, still very, very relevant. Magikin with their 4-inch moves, still very, very relevant. We'll find out, but that's the breakdown. I thought it was interesting. Yeah, what do you guys think? What are the ones you're taking for your lists? If you are going to comment, comment on the army as well that you're taking, and then the 2 battle tactic paths that you're going for. All right, now let us talk. Gaio, what's next? I can't even remember now. I'm at a blank. Oh yes, manifestations. Manifestations were really, really close. So a very interesting thing about manifestations is how many of the universal, let me rewind. The manifestations are basically broken down to ones that cost points and ones that don't. The ones that don't cost points are all the faction manifestations. And then there's 2 that are universal that don't cost points either. And that's Aether Rot Machineries and Twillet Sorceries, if I'm not mistaken. Everything else costs points, 20 or more points to include in your forces. Of the armies that took it, only 12% of the field took manifestations that cost any points. That's only 2 players. Everyone else opted for free. Now tell me again that 20 points don't matter. It seems like it matters quite a bit. And there were a few people commenting on it before saying, oh, 20 points, it won't matter. People still take it anyway. And it's like, no, that's actually not true. People have more or less opted for the free universal manifestations or have opted for their faction. So basically the overwhelming amount, like we're talking what, 98% of the field? No, sorry, 88% of the field went with the free manifestations instead. And now here's a fun fact. Another little fun fact that we're going to touch upon is the clubs that are showing up for this Saturday. I want to give a shout out to the Avatars of Anguish. Can't say that without the, the electric guitar. We have 7 of their members, or also known as 44% of the field, is the Avatars of Anguish. So congratulations to that club. They did really, really well this season. The other 25% of the field is Beauty Hammer, so congratulations to them. And then we've got a little tiny sprinkling of One Tough Crowd, Agilo Gaming, an Army of One, and then 2 independents that are rocking out for this weekend. I just thought that was a fun strat, or a fun stat, I should say. All right, now comes the big process. We're gonna try and do this relatively quick. This took a heck of a lot longer than I was expecting. Gaio, if you could get Mr. Brandon Deamer's list up on the screen, we are going to try and move through this as quickly as we possibly can. All right, so Mr. Brandon Deamer, he is playing basically Vampire Soul Blight. It is a 1940 list and the only list at 1950 or less actually showing up this weekend. So he gets an extra CP for doing that. And that's not just because I like the guy, it's just the rules. If you play at 1950 or lower, you get an extra CP. Everyone else, weirdly, is at more or less 1990 or 2000. An occasional list at 1980, but nothing really below other than this one singular list. I thought that was very, very interesting. He is playing Bacchanal of Blood with his Soul Blight, and all vampires get +1 to cast, +1 to wound. He is a 2-drop list, so he is aiming to dictate the priority, or the priority is very, very important to him. He is also one of the few players who took a manifestation lore that actually cost points, and I think mainly the reason for that is he had a hard time spending his last few points. But he took Morbid Conjuration simply for the impact, and that's a 30-point manifestation, folks, so that's certainly not nothing. He took Scouting Force, and that's the units outside of the territory, and Attune to Gairan, which I believe is the Seize the Center. The only player to take Attune to Gairan, I might add. In his General's Regiment, he has the Coven Throne. Now, the Coven Throne is a very, very interesting model. It's not only beautiful, but actually super, super utility as well. It has the ability to pick 3 vampires units and add a +1 to their attacks. When it issues a redeploy, it can issue a second redeploy to units. And you know what? Bacchanal of Blood, which the Coven Throne is a vampire unit, makes him a fairly solid melee unit choice as well. The Coven Throne also gives or grants a Death Rattle unit, which we'll cover that in a few moments, a 5+ ward save while being wholly within 6 inches of it. It has the Lash of the Sire, which is a 2+. If not in combat, that unit gets to move D6s. If it is in combat, they get to move or pile D6 inches. It also has the Terminus Clock on a 3+. It is a -1 to cast an enemy wizard within 18 inches. Now, the Borrow Guard are kind of a cool little infantry unit. Not only, they're like basically super skeletons. They have a good save, solid save of 4+. They do crit mortals, and they have 2 attacks apiece, which is decent. Then we go to the Blood Knights themselves, and this is pretty much the nitty-gritty of the list. We'll start off with the fully reinforced. These units of Blood Knights have 3 attacks apiece that hit 3s and 3s, -1 damage, 1 damage apiece, but also have anti-infantry and charge +1. Buffed further by the Coven Throne's +1 attack, and then the Bacchanal of Blood's +1 to wound. These guys are absolutely ferocious. They go to 4 attacks, hitting on +1. Yeah, they go 4 attacks. If they all out attack as well, they hit on 2s, wound on 2s, 4 attacks apiece. That's 40 attacks, 41 with the champion. 2s and 2s, neg 2 going into infantry at 2 flat damage. So they will absolutely rinse any infantry unit, and if they're not banging into infantry, they are just poking with so many sticks, overwhelming that target that they're bound to make to fail some saves, and any save that they fail is 2 flat damage. So an absolutely ferocious unit, and what my favorite thing about them is that marries amazing rules and a phenomenal chassis with good-looking models. Then we go into the regiment number 1, affectionately known as regiment number 2. We got the Prince Vordry. This guy's tip of the scales at 490 points. So we're gonna actually look him up. He has so many cool rules that I couldn't actually fit it all. I certainly wasn't gonna write it all up on this piece of paper. So let's see if we can find Prince Vordry. He is a wizard, and his own spell is Strike First. So, yeah, not bad at all. Absolutely tremendous. He's got, it's cast on a 7 as well. So if he gets it off, always striking first is absolutely incredible, especially when you combine it with the fact that he's got 7 base attacks, 4s, 2s. This is his companion. Rend 1, 2 flat damage. And then the Shardmare's Maw. Again, the companion attack, this is the dragon. He himself has 6 attacks, 3s, 3s, Rend 2, 2 damage, +1 to charge, and of course can also take the benefit of Bacchanal Blood getting a +1 to wound, so he'll actually be wounding on 2s as well as first striking. So He's got a whole whackload of different rules. On top of that, he's got the Saint of Slaughter special rule. And that is basically what happens is pick a friendly non-monster vampire unit that destroyed a unit that turn using a fight ability. And then you pick one of the following effects that can add 2 inches to their move, add 1 to their attacks characteristic, or add 1 to their damage characteristic. This lasts for the entirety of the game. So that freight train of Blood Knights that coming at you, smashing a unit into the ground, all of a sudden can gain an extra damage or an extra 2 inches of move for the game. Vordride can also take, no, he can't, because it is a non-monster vampire. All right, caught myself there. His Rampage is also really, really good. On a 4+, inflicted amount of mortal damage on the target equal to the roll. So that's on a pile in. So he's just an absolute beast. Now, here's the downside. He's on a 160 millimeter base. And with that giant butt comes giant problems. He'll have an awkward time placing himself where he necessarily needs to be. And the opponent will have the opportunity to outposition him and potentially get him to spots where he doesn't want to necessarily go. In that regiment, of course, he has Barrel Guard again and 2 units of Min Knights to probably harass the centers or maybe use as sacrificial pawns. So that is Brandon Deamer's solid list. Really mobile. Will look absolutely terrific. And we go into Carl Ong. All right, Carl's been playing here in the shop for quite a long time. In fact, started playing in the shop for the very first time here. He got introduced to AoS here. So he is playing Soulblight Gravelords. He's also playing Back in All Blood. So just to refresh your memory, just in case you don't remember, all vampires get +1 to cast and +1 to wound. He's playing a 3-drop list, so he kind of cares about deciding priority, but not so much that he wants to go out of his way. He's playing Aether Rot Machineries, and that's mostly because of the gears. Now, the gears in the manifestation give rerolls to charges, and of course, depending on how aggressive this list ends up being, that could be extremely important. And guess what? It's aggressive. So we go to the General's Regiment. He's playing the Scourge Iran, Sekar, the Fang of New Lamia. She's a level 2 wizard, which is pretty amazing for 200. I got her at 220 points. Yeah, for 2 levels wizard, and the fact that she's like a really, well, she's a vampire, right? So she kind of hits kind of hard. Not amazingly hard, but not nothing. She's certainly not a nerd wizard anyway. She also has a really neat defense. Let's see if I can get her up on my screen here. She has a really neat defense that she can only be wounded, or she can't be wounded on any attack rolls of 1 through 4. So you need to only wound her on 5s and 6s. All right, so Scourge. She's got, a whole whackload of rules. First is once per battle round, reaction, opponent declared a spell or a charge ability and is visible and within 18 inches. Pick 1 die from the charge roll or casting roll for that ability. Your opponent must re-roll that die. So guy rolls hot, says, you know what? Re-roll that 6. You can actually just screw with casts, screw with charges as well. Absolutely tremendous ability. Huge bubble, 18 inches. Needing line of sight though. And of course there is obscuring, and we are playing with the new season at this event. Her other ability, allow me to remind you, once per turn, reaction, opponent declared a command for a visible enemy unit, again, wholly within 18. On a 5+, that command does not go off, and the command point is still spent. And then in her hero phase, she has a spell called Irresistible Demand. It's cast on a 6. It says pick a visible enemy hero within 18 inches, yet again, inflict D3 mortal damage on each other enemy within 3 inches of that target. So a little splash damage. So she is a control piece. Very interesting tech piece, and a sweet little model to boot. She can mix it up. I mean, between her and her companion, she's got 8 attacks. all the attacks are multi-damage as well. So certainly not nothing. Let us go now into the Seguin True Blades. Now, if it's your first time seeing Seguin True Blades, well, let me introduce you to a high-value unit in the game currently right now. I wonder if it's the best high-value unit. I do not know, but at 120 points for a Seguin True Blades, it is absolutely amazing. These guys, well, let me get up on the screen, or I should say on my screen. So 120 points. First off, they're all vampires. So the +1 to cast is going to matter, but the +1 to wound does. All of them get the benefit of +1 to wound. They all have 2 attacks, 3s and 3s, anti-monster and crit hits 2. This is, again, all bundled into 120 points. There are, I believe, 8 models in the unit. Yeah, 8 models in the unit. They have an ability called Creed of Escurga, which is add 1 to the hit rolls for combat attacks made by this unit that target a monster. And what they can also do is a gut-wrenching howl. And here's what puts the cherry on top. On a 4+, regardless of what, if you're in combat with, on a 4+, you strike last for 120 points. Did I also tell you they all have 2 wounds apiece? They move 6. And honestly have a decent armor save at 5+. I'm not saying it's the best armor save, but hot dang, for 120 points, absolutely incredible. So these guys at 8 could have 16 attacks, hitting on 2s and 2s, against monsters that is, 2s and 2s with rend 2 at crit 2 hits as well, and potentially dish out a strike last. Yeah. Seguin True Blades are absolutely fantastic, and Carl decided to take what? 1, 2, 3, only 4. I guess he didn't want to go overboard. In Regiment number 1, affectionately known as Regiment number 2, we got a White Lord on Skeletal Steed. Just a decent hero. He has Unbending Will, which is +D6 to control, and Amulet of Grays, which is set up the terrain piece, basically, to kind of bring it. They have a little coffin thing that they get to actually place on the table. So I guess if one's destroyed, he could reset it up. It also grants a +1 charge to Death Rattle Cav as a passive, so just being within range of him. The guy has a decent profile, nothing really to write home about. He moves 10, he has 7 wounds. A 3-up save, though, which is pretty good. The reason why he's there is because of these all Borrow Knights, and the Borrow Knights are absolutely fantastic themselves. They also have +1 damage when they charge. They can bring back a whole model at the end of every turn as well. So these units are there to hang. He's got Death Rattle Skeletons, another mid-sized unit of that, just to get in the way. These guys are all catcher's mitts to set up more powerful units. And speaking of more powerful units, let's talk about the Regiment of Renown. And the Regiment of Renown he took was the Summer King's Entourage. And the Summer King's Entourage is just, I think, a hell of a deal. For 640 points, you save basically 100 points on all these models. Now, I understand before someone comments that the context of this army is different, and you're not going to unlock all the rules. That's why they get an extra 100-point break. But I think this army or regiment is absolutely worth it. Ushran is in this regiment. You get a min unit of Crypt Guard and a min unit of Morbeg Knights. Ushran is an absolute animal in combat, a level 2 wizard. He has the ability to hand out Strike Last as well, so yet another source of Strike Last. So if you're keeping track, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sources at the moment that I see. I might have missed one. 5 sources of Strike Last in the list. Crypt Guard have a nice high volume of attacks at 3 attacks each, and can potentially deny commands if they inflict damage on the unit and that unit hasn't done any commands just quite yet. Then the Morbeg Knights are 12-inch move, really, really fast, 4 health models, great save, solid save at 4+, good melee output, and great damage, to be honest. But the real big deal is they have the ability to retreat and charge, which is absolutely tremendous, and they also have impact hits as well. So overall, a really interesting techie list. We went from brute force and absolute smash hammers to a lot of tech in Soul Blight. So a good range of choices. All right, so let's now go to Mr. David Franco. Dave is playing Slaves of Darkness list. He's playing God's Wrath Warband, and that's pick an objective, defile it, and then on bad D3, mortal damage to any enemy units contesting that objective. It is pretty much the default choice. Slaves of Darkness do not have enormously good choices for formations, but this is by far the most popular choice. He is a 2-drop list, so he is concerned about picking priority. He went with his faction manifestation, and then he also took Intercept and Recover and Scouting Force. So Intercept, Recover, the 3 treasures scattered across the enemy field. I like Intercept and Recover from a psychological perspective. The enemy, you now force the enemy to put points on units that if they die, they obviously give his opponent points. Now, if your army's not designed to receive the treasures, meaning if you don't have these fast mobile units that can just hide throughout the game and still be relevant, then you're going to be putting those treasures on something that is relevant. And now you have to question on whether or not you want to commit that unit, possibly be less aggressive with it. And I like the psychology of that. Scouting Force, obviously any army that is very mobile is going to be able to take advantage of Scouting Force, which is units outside of territory, then units capping objectives or terrain in opposing players' territory. In the General's Regiment, we have the Chaos Lord on Demonic Mount. Solid guy, moves fast enough, 10 inches, 8 health. The big deal is when he fights, assuming there's a Slaves of Darkness cavalry unit that's right beside him, within 3 inches, he can allow them to fight as well, and when they fight, they get a +1 to wound, which is actually pretty huge, especially when you look at the fact that he has, well, we'll get to that part. He took the Radiance of Dark Glory, which is a heal for himself, Conqueror's Crown, which deducts control from enemy infantry. He has a Chaos Chariot, just to throw in, and everyone said, well, you know, the age of, what was it, Reinforced Vanguard, Reinforced Chosen is gone. Well, guess what? Dave doesn't think so, because guess what he took? A Reinforced unit of Vanguard and a Reinforced unit of Chosen in his army. In that Regiment number 1, affectionately known as Regiment number 2, he has a Chaos Sorcerer Lord that'll be able to hand out a 3+ ward, and those Chosen are fully reinforced. They kick out an enormous amount of damage, and of course have a Dread Banner, which will not allow his opponent to use any commands while within combat. He has 2 min-sized unit of warriors there to mix it up, guard his flanks and what have you, and then a Nexus of Kayatica for the coolness, because I barely does anything in the game. All right, let's go to Elise Sullivan. All right, Elise has decided to take something techie. I wrote a whole bunch of information on here. Elise, why'd you have to make my brain think? She took Sentinels of the Black Citadels. This is hero phase. Pick Ruination Chamber units or unit and give it a 5+ ward. This is a 4-drop list, so Elise is unconcerned about picking priority, but didn't really reach for the stars to be a 5-drop. She felt that 4 drops was more than enough, and considering the fact that the big chunk of the field is actually 2 drops, she is correct. The Prayer Lore, Stormhost, sure, and she took, battle tactics wise, she took Master the Paths and Restless Energy. Master the Paths, I believe, is the one where you have to, it's either kill heroes or gain more objectives than your opponent. I can never remember Always confuse the two. But Restless Energy is just take an objective from an opponent that an opponent controlled previously. Scourge of Gyran, we have the new Iridian, and Iridian is actually, the new Iridian is really, really neat. It's 320 points, so 320 points is a significant amount. It hits very well, or they hit very well. It's got a really cool leap ability as a rampage. Can leap around the enemy and while it's in combat on a 3+. If it charged, it gets a enemy have -1 to hit them. They have a reroll on the resistance rolls of Ruination Chamber units wholly within 12. And what the heck does that mean? It means when you target a Ruination Chamber, I believe they roll a 4+, maybe a 5+, and they would ignore that ability. Or, like for instance, if Belcourt tries to finger a unit and say you can't activate on a 4+, they just ignore it, that type of thing. Well, this gives a reroll for that, which is absolutely tremendous. They have a prayer that's cast on a 3, and that prayer has +1 rend. +1 rend to a unit. On a 7+, pick a second unit to have +1 rend. Now we're going to get to that a little bit later. So on a 7+, give 2 units +1 rend. That is nothing, well, nothing wrong with that. We have a fully reinforced unit of prosecutors, and I believe these are the flying units that 3d6 charge, get an extra damage when they charge, and have a range attack all around. I really love those models. Really cool unit. Reclusians are kind of like Stormcast version of Chosen Light, maybe a slightly less damage, but still very, very rock hard. And of course, our Ruination Chamber. And then we have Stormstrike Paladors, fully reinforced. Now, Stormstrike Paladors unlock strike first if a Warrior Chamber unit dies. Now, we haven't hit any Warrior Chamber units yet, but when that does happen, this whole unit of Paladors gets strike first, which is absolutely fantastic. We go into Regiment number 1. Actually known as Regiment number 2. We have a Lord Vigilant on Marrowgriff. This is kind of like Iridan, except the generic version of it. The generic version is very, very interesting. It can hand out strike last and no commands on a 2d6 roll that beat the health of the unit that it's banging up against. That is really cool tech. Strike first, strike last, all over the place in this list. It has, or she has given it legendary tenacity, and that means when this thing dies on a 3+, it can make it come back. In Regiment number 2, and affectionately known as Regiment number 3, we have Lord Relictor, which is Priest Extraordinaire, +1 to pray, and then it has Beacon of Azir, auto-cast a prayer on a 7 to a unit wholly within 12 inches. Wait a second. This model picks a unit, and if you're wholly within 12, you now auto-cast your prayer on a 7. Well, let's go back over to the Scourge of Gyran, Iridan, the Witness. If it casts its prayer on a 7, it picks a second unit to give an extra rend to. Really cool little combination, really neat synergy. I love the layering of this. This doesn't even require a die roll, so absolutely tremendous. Then we get into the unit that's in that regiment, which is the Quester Soulsworn. And the Quester Soulsworn are Warrior Chamber units. So when this unit dies, it will give the Stormstrike Paladors a strike first for the rest of the game. At the beginning of the game, these Soulsworn pick a unit to quest mark, and when they're on that objective, they have a +3 to control and a 5-up ward as well. Then we go to Regiment number 4, which is the Lord Vigilant on Griffstalker, and the Lord Vigilant on Griffstalker hands out Fight Twice to any Ruination unit. And what are Ruination units? Well, those Reclusians are Ruination units, as is Iridan. Yeah, pretty darn good. And then we got, of course, the Faction Terrain. Even though it costs 20 points, there is going to be not a single Stormcast player that is not going to fork over 20 points for that piece of terrain. It is an absolutely fantastic piece. Nothing like having a teleport that, one, doesn't require any die rolls to be successful, and two, your opponent cannot interact with it. People would take this for 30. People would probably take it for 40 as well. 50? Don't know, but yeah, that terrain piece is absolutely nuts. That's Elise's list. Really cool list. Elise, I like it. Now we go into Mr. Jake Seguin. Now, speaking of complicated, Jake, why'd you have to be so gosh darn complicated? All right, so let's talk cities. Cities of Sigmar, folks. The studio has been pushing humans for the last little bit and pushed it real hard with the Scourge of Gairan release of Scrolls. So if you haven't seen lists being played before, they have a really cool battle trait called Orders. The Orders are handed out from heroes within the army, and one of them is called Advance in Formation, which is move a unit 3 inches, hold the line, which is a 5+ ward within 3 inches of the character, and strike last, and then strike them down, which is +1 attack, and to elf units +1 to hit on top of that. All right, so those are all the orders. He took Fortress City Defenders, and Fortress City Defenders, what that does is it takes any unit that has the Fortify ability, and that is basically kind of like an ethereal save, if I'm not mistaken, and they could start the game fortified. In addition, in the first battle round, while within their territory, wholly within their territory, the units are -1 to wound. Not too shabby. All right. Manifestation Lord took Aether Rot Machineries. Again, the big deal is probably those gears offering rerolls to charge. And then the battle tactic paths that he decided to pick is Restless Energy, because he's planning on being fairly aggressive with this list, and taking any objectives controlled by opponent is something he is aiming to do, plus Scouting Force. Again, he's got some strong mobile elements and a lot of push moving forward. He'll creep over that middle line and then start dominating the field, or at least that's the plan. In the General's Regiment, he has a free guild marshal with Relic Envoy. He is mostly there for his presence, the fact that he's a hero. Does he do stuff in combat? Sure, but if he's in combat, things are probably going wrong. He has Cosmopolitan Leader, which on a 3+, wholly within 12 inches, he picks 3 units. Humans to add +1 to wound, elves to add +3 to their control. And then Brazier of Holy Flame is return D3 slain models to an infantry unit, and I'll be showing you where he is actually going to be focusing on, and that is right now. Free Guild Command Corps. Now the Free Guild Command Corps, he's taking 3 units of them. These guys are multi-wound models. I believe they're 3 wound models. They have 4+ saves. They have actually quite a lot of attacks, and on top of all that, they automatically get a 5+ ward just by being close to the marshal. So close meaning within 3 inches of the marshal, these guys have a 5+ ward. That's not issuing a command. They just get that. So that's really good. They also have really cool reaction abilities, or really tech choices. When someone tries to use a command wholly within, I don't think it's wholly within. It's probably within 12 inches. They can actually increase the cost of that command by 1. And if you do not have the extra CP on hand to be able to accomplish or complete that command, you've still spent the 1, you do nothing. You can do that 3 times. It's probably once per army, at least I hope so. Then we get into the Scourge Gairan Free Guild Cavaliers, fully reinforced. These guys got quite the glow up in the Scourge Gairan War Scrolls. Like all Cav, or most Cav I should say, they move 10 inches. They have 3 hand-to-hand attacks. They have a base save of 3+, which is absolutely fantastic. Oh, so sorry. Not 3 attacks, 2 attacks. 3 health, 3 up save. They hit on 3s, 4s, neg 1, 1 damage, but what's important is that charge +1. So if they charge, they unlock an extra damage. Now, If this unit is near a cavalry marshal, even the one on foot, depending on positioning and the situation, on a 4+, if they're in combat already, they still count as charging. So what does that mean? It means while stuck in combat, they could still be damage 2 with their weapons. They get a +1 to that die roll, so instead of a 4+, they could do it on a 3+ if the enemy outnumbers them. Absolutely fantastic. A great freaking unit. Now, before we get into regiment number 1, let's talk about the name of the list. He says, WTF is a Zenestra. Now, the point he's trying to make is, I think he went out of the way not to use Zenestra in this list to, I guess, prove a point. I'm not going to lie, Zenestra is absolutely fantastic. We'll be talking about her in the next little bit because there is a Cities player that did take her. But I appreciate his experimentation. How's that? In this regiment number 1, affectionately known as regiment number 2, we got a Black Arc Fleet Master, mostly there for his presence, just to unlock the elves. And in that regiment, he has 2 reinforced units of executioners. These executioners are absolutely fantastic. On the charge, and with all the buffs active, these guys can have 61 attacks in combat. Crit mortaling on 5s. Absolutely nuts. All right, we go to regiment number 2, affectionately known as regiment number 3. Of course, we have Callus and Toll, because why wouldn't we? Callus and Toll are absolute bosses. They have the ability to merge from the shadows, which is basically an ability to teleport around the field. They have a built-in 5+ ward. These guys are phenomenal wizard assassins. If anyone has a wizard keyword, they unlock extra damage. Toll's companions also more or less do the same thing. And of course, because Callus and Toll are heroes, they can also use orders. Why is that important? Well, when they teleport, they can teleport outside of 9 because that's how that works. But then they can use the actual command called Advance in Formation and now advance them 3 inches in and now be just outside of 7 to potentially complete charges. A really cool assassination unit, a great multi-tool unit, aggressive unit. Pretty much everything you'd want in a unit is Callus and Toll. In regiment number 4, we got a Free Guild Cavalier Marshal, all by his lonesome. Again, just to increase the amount of regiments, because Jake is in the market to get that reroll. He wants it, and he wants it now. The Free Guild Marshal is pretty cool and synergizes pretty well with those Cavaliers, granting them a +1 to their charge while they're wholly within 12 inches. And if it's also in combat, at the same time the Cavalier unit is, and while within combat range, so 3 inches, he can hand out first strike to the unit. Very, very nice. And now in regiment number 5, again, we have another hero all by his lonesome, an Alchemite Warforger. It is a Wizard 1 and on a 3+ wall, a unit or friendly unit is wholly within 12 inches, it can actually dole out a +1 save. A little bit of a casino gun, but if it gets it off, a clutch +1 save is absolutely tremendous. There's a lot happening in this list. That fully reinforced unit of Cavaliers has 30 wounds with a 3+ save. An all defense at a critical moment brings it right back down to 2. He can even opt to hold the line with them and give them a 5+ ward. That by doing that, it grants them a strike last. But if you go back to the Cavalier Marshal, the Cavalier Marshal can grant strike first, canceling both those buffs. And now these guys can be at a 5+ ward strike normal. So there's a lot of play within this list that might not be as obvious. Lots to dig into. Very technical list. I like it. Good job, Jake. Now we go into Mr. Jonathan Franco, the other Franco, currently right now, best Franco of 2025. He is playing Stormcast Eternals. He's playing the Lightning Echelon and is in the Extremist Chamber in combat on a 3+ gain strike first. That's basically the actual formation or detachment. In it, he has 2 drops. So he is very concerned about deciding priority. He took Restless Energy and Wrathful Cycles. And then within General's Regiment, for battle tactics, that is. In the General's Regiment, we have a Lord Celestant on Star Drake. Now, this big bad boy is leveraging some of those Scourge of Gairan traits. He has Hour of Glory, and this is something that's going to surprise absolutely no one. But basically, this guy can Finest Hour repeatedly throughout the whole entire game. And you're going, what is Finest Hour? +1 armor save, +1 to wound on a big dragon chassis is absolutely awesome, especially when that dragon chassis is a 3+ save. So now you can actually save stack at certain opportunities as well, making this big giant boy really quite powerful, very, very durable as well. He does have the Quicksilver Draft. It's a once per battle strike first as well. In this regiment, as included, is Annihilators, and these guys are the ones with a 2+ armor save, 140 points for 2+ armor save, 9 wound guys that actually hit decently, more than decently well. Like 140 points is an absolute steal. Dracothian Guard Tempesters, fully reinforced, a mobile hammer, hits hard, is durable because like all Stormcast, and then we have a durable throwaway Liberator unit or a min unit of Liberators just there to probably die, get in the way of things, accomplish whatever battle tactics, screen, and what have you. Then we have Quester Soulsworn, and these are the guys that pick an objective to quest mark, and then while they're on objective, they get buffed. We go to Regiment number 2, affectionately known as Regiment number 2. Did I say 2? We have a Lord Relictor, and the Lord Relictor is the Priest Extraordinaire, having +1 to pray, and then he has a min unit of Liberators as well as Stormstrike Paladors that again unlock first strike when a Warrior Chamber unit dies, and there's plenty of opportunity for that because all the Liberators, including the Soulsworn, count as Warrior Chamber units. And then we have Vindictors, a min unit of Vindictors, and of course, because you just can't say no to it, we have the Stormreach Portal as well, which is teleporting. A solid list, nothing too crazy, definitely much easier to pilot, I would think, in comparison to some of the Soul Blight lists or Cities lists that are out there. I like it. Not so much pressure up here, basically. Of course, positioning matters. I'm not saying it's going to be very easy to play, but there's not a lot of triggers to remember, which is really nice when in a tournament. Okay, done. We go to Mr. Kevin LeBlanc. LeBlanc is playing Seguin for this event. And Seguin have some very, very interesting rules. One of the biggest ones is three claw steps ahead. Now, this is just something that's native to Seguin. In the enemy's hero phase, once their hero phase is done and now they get to do something, they get to pick a unit and then they can make a normal move. That is absolutely fantastic. If you forget about that and are lining up a battle tactic, or the Seguin player is paying attention to what your next battle tactic is, he can really screw with that additional movement. Take units and move them out of the way, which is absolutely phenomenal. The formation that he did take is Warpcog Convocation, and that's basically taking a Skyr unit and rolling a die. Everything in Skaven's about rolling dice and pulling on the casino arm of the bandit. On a roll of 1, that unit takes D3 mortal wounds, but on a 2 to 5, it gets +1 to wound, and on a 6, it gets -1 rend to its shots. And there's a lot of shots in this list. This is a 2-drop list, so Kevin is very concerned about priority. The battle tactics he picked are Master the Pass and Intercept and Recover. In the General's Regiment, we have an Arc Warlock, and he can grant free covering fire to Squire units that are wholly within 12 inches. He's a devious underling. He can hand out a 6+ ward save to infantry units, and that will most likely be, of course, the reinforced unit of Storm Fiends, tipping the scales at 500 points. It could get the benefits of Warpcog, which is that +1 to wound. This list is all about firepower and crushing, or I should say obliterating enemy units at a distance. My man gives not one iota of a flying wit about obscuring in the new season. He's saying, step out of the shadow of those trees and you will be annihilated. These guys are actually no joke in hand-to-hand either, which is also quite cool. He has a Warp Lightning cannon as well, and a unit of Warp Lock Giselles. Now, I would question being this into this amount of shooting going into the new season, but it'll be really interesting to see how he does in his first game. I dig his enthusiasm, I can say that. He's got also another unit of Warp Volt Scourgers, and this is a heavy weight of fire unit. It's like 2d6 shots, I think, per guy. Fully reinforced. It just overwhelms you with math and then asks you to make as many saves as you possibly can. And if you don't, you just get shot off the field of battle. In Regiment Number 1, affectionately known as Regiment Number 2, we got a Gracier. That one has Skaven Brew, and then of course 2 min units of Clan Rats, because Clan Rats are like absolutely terrifically useful for screening and doing everything else. We got also a unit of Night Runners, and of course a Gnaw Hole. Now Gnaw Holes are really quite neat. Beginning of every round, you start off with one, beginning of every round you get to drop one, and you can start teleporting units and cut angles. And this is what I think mostly why Kev is going this deep into shooting. He is thinking he'll be able to cut more angles and force the point. To avoid those shots, you have to hug terrain and maybe potentially be in positions you don't want to be or out of position. And I think that's very, very interesting. He's taking some Clan Rats in to buy him a little bit of time. And when units do commit into his lines, they'll be out in the open. And usually the units that commit into his lines are going to be units that he wants to shoot off anyway. So maybe this will work out for him. Kev, love the list. Hopefully you do well, my friend. Now we go into Levon. One half of the, okay, I can do it. God dang it. Sichinava. Is that close? Sichinava. I got it, nailed it. Sichinava. That's definitely what it is. All right, so 2,000 points on the nose. We got a Cities of Sigmar list. Taking Fearless Exemplars as his formation. All right, well, it's pick a human, infantry unit, or war machine. Non-hero infantry unit and human war machine, okay? They get an extra rend to their attacks. The infantry unit gets it on their melee attacks. The war machine gets it on their ranged attacks. Now, why is this significant? We'll get to that. The manifestation lore he took was Twilit Sorceries, and he mainly took that for Geminids, almost certainly. And Geminids, if you don't know, are a really great manifestation that could deny commands. And yeah, say, you want all defense? So sorry, you're within range, can't do it. Battle tactics that he took is Scouting Force and Master the Paths. His General's Regiment is Callus and Toll, because why wouldn't you? Callus and Toll are rock stars. This is a great unit for all the reasons I've already said. I'm not going to reiterate. We go to Regiment Number 1, affectionately known as Regiment Number 2. We have the Scourge of Gyran, Pontifex Zenestra, Matriarch of the Great Wheel. We'll do the meme. Absolutely phenomenal. She's a 2-cast priest. She has a prayer called Sigmar's Will. Now, I'm not going to break down all the prayer. The big thing about this prayer is the salvation part. Now, it's pick 3 friendly human units anywhere on the battlefield. Doesn't matter where they are, okay? I don't even think she needs line of sight. Remove them and then place them wholly within 12 of her, more than 3 inches away from the enemy. That is bonkers. And I'll explain why in a few moments, but the ability to be able to cast this prayer as well on the enemy's turn, phenomenal. And it's only cast on a 4. So she could charge up on her own turn, bank the points, and as long as she doesn't roll a 1 going into the enemy's turn, she could then reach out and pull her friendlies out of danger Really, really good. Okay, Steam Tank Commander. 250 points of Steam Tank Commander. No one takes this. LeBlanc takes this. Why does he take it? Because it's a grizzled veteran, that's why. If you're going to wound it, you will not be able to wound it on 1s, 2s, and 3s because it's grizzled veteran. So now let's go back to Fearless Exemplars, where this guy picks a unit of infantry and himself and gains an extra rend. I mean, that's kind of cute. This thing's a 2+ save. I am not 100% certain I would structure my formation around this choice, but what I love about it is no one does it. And the model's super, super cool. And good on you, LeBlanc. I think it's just really, really neat. He took Wild Core Hunter as well in that regiment, and these guys are the ones that kind of scout ahead initially at the beginning of the game. In regiment number 3, we have a Free Guild Marshal with Relic Envoy, again, mostly there for his presence. And he will be, again, access to all those orders we already talked about previously. There's a Free Guild Cavalier unit that's fully reinforced. So let's touch upon the Cavaliers one more time. This Cavalier unit will be YOLOing into combat, smashing whatever's in front. And if it's hanging out still, potentially being yo-yoed back to Pontifex Zenestra. That is absolutely fantastic. In this regiment as well as a Free Guild Command Corps for all the little tech things, potentially denying commands from units and being durable and just being within 3 inches of the Marshal, getting a 5+ ward. And then we have a min unit of Free Guild Steel Helms there. These guys have an amazing little save, actually, a 4+, these 1 wounded guys. And they're just there to get in the way. Then we go to regiment number 4 from my cold dead hands. So we all know that most likely both the elves and the dwarves are probably going to be removed from cities and be squatted and put into the old world. That is a strong rumor anyway. So some people have already have already stopped using those units, but not LeBlanc. No, sir. Not this guy. He took his Rune Lord, who is a priest, who has a Brazier of the Holy Flame, being able to return D3 models back. What is he returning? Hammers, fully reinforced. When they give that order to give them the 5+ ward, because they're also dwarves, they get another -1 to wound as well. These dwarves slap as well at 2 attacks apiece. I believe they hit on 3s and 3s. -1, 2 flat damage, which is just absolutely fantastic. An absolute bananas unit, and I am looking forward to seeing that unit disappear, to be completely frank with you. Absolutely phenomenal unit, though. Then we go to regiment number 5, which is the Alchemite Warforger, and then again, on a 3+, being able to hand out a +1 save. I like this unit. It's got some really cool tech in it, but it's a lot about this particular army is more about raw power more than lining up the stars to pull off tricks. Really, really cool, very solid cities list. We go into Mark Polinsky's list. He is taking Ideneth Deepkin, folks. And of course, he's taking Achelian Beastmasters. Why do I say of course? Well, because when you have an army that has as many companion attacks as this army does, well, why would you take the one that adds +1 to hit for all those companion attacks? He is also a 2-drop list, obviously very concerned about deciding priority. And then, of course, you take Aetherrot Machineries, and this is the reroll charge guys with the gears. In the battle tactics cards, excuse me. For the battle tactics, he took Wrathful Cycles and Master the Paths. The General's Regiment is Eidolon of Mathland, the Aspect of the Sea, and this is the Wizard. It has a native +1 to cast, and the Rampage on this guy, not that he's going to see combat very often, but the Rampage on this guy is on a 3+, no commands, which is just a phenomenal Rampage. He has a sweet spell cast on an 8 though, but it does get a +1 to cast. But pick a unit within 12, and that unit gets -1 to its save. Very, very nice. It is equipped with Ancient Pride, and that's hit rolls of 1 to 3 miss, and Armor of Scythia, and that's weapons have no abilities when going up against them. And that means if you have crit mortals, you no longer have that. If you have crit hits, you no longer have that, and so on and so forth. Then we go into the rest of the regiment. We have an Achillean Alopex, which has anti-monster, +1 rend, so it'd be rend 2, 3 flat damage. An Achillean Leviathan, and the Leviathan's absolutely phenomenal. It has a native 5+ ward save. I think it has like 16 wounds, and gives a 5+ ward save to Idna Deepkin units that are wholly within 6 inches of it. And then we have the Achillean Mosar Guard, two fully reinforced units, and these guys are absolutely phenomenal. 14-inch movement, +1 damage on the charge. Our anti-infantry, which is extremely relevant in the game, anti-infantry +1 rend. The faction terrain is Gloomtide Shipwreck, sure, whatever. The Regiment of Renown is the Saviors of Cinderfall, and of course it is, if you haven't heard, Callus and Toll. Now, Callus and Toll, when operating outside of cities, get a 4+ save or a 4+ ward, so extra tough. Why? Because the rule designer said so, that's why. 4+ ward. See, it's pretty good. I saw the list. This guy, Mark, will most likely be taking advantage of any forest, hiding and burying himself in it, and waiting and positioning for his round 3 army-wide strikes first. If you've not seen this, they have the rules called Tide of something or other, Tide of Unfairness, let's call it that. Basically, they'll be able to hit certain tides where they'll be able to run and charge, but go turn will probably be round 2, where he can effectively bust out of his castle, engage the enemy, hit him really, really hard, go into round 3 completely cool as a cucumber, understanding his whole entire army will strike first. A great and nasty list. Now we go into Matthias Otto von Baugh. My man is playing, what are you playing, Matthias? You were playing Lumineth Realmlords. How could I possibly forget? Now, there's a whole whack load of things that are happening in this list, because why wouldn't there be? He's playing Venari Battle Host for one. So, the elves have what is referred to as the facets of war. One of those facets is called Power of Hysh, and the Power of Hysh facet allows crits on 5s. Pretty darn good. Another facet is reduction of rend for Alorith units, which he has in the list as well. He is a 5-drop list, so he is definitely aiming for that reroll. And he took Twillet Sorceries, and the Twillet Sorceries is the Geminids, which deny commands. Of course, it has other stuff too. Just the other 2 spells, I'm not saying are not relevant. I'm just saying they're not as interesting. Battle tactics wise, he took Master Paths and Scouting Force. In the General's Regiment, he has an Alorith Stone Mage, and it is a Wizard level 1. Buff 1 Alorith unit wholly within 12 inches and give it +1 rend on a 3+. And guess what? He has 3 Alorith units in his regiment. One of them is the Spirit of the Mountain, and this thing's just an absolute, just that, mountain of damage and health and armor. 3+ armor save. It has a wicked rampage of 4+ strike last. It does 5 flat damage with all its attacks. Fantastic. And then he has 2 min-sized units of Alorith Stone Guard. These guys can have a 5+ save when contesting an objective, which is, and hit relatively hard. They have 2 flat damage hammers. We go to Regiment number 1, affectionately known as Regiment number 2. We got a Venari Blade, or Banner Blade. It can buff saves by +1 while contesting an objective, and other friendlies are on that same objective. So he basically looks around. If any friendlies are on the same objective, it gives them a +1 save. Rather relevant and super cool looking model, I might add. With that, in that regiment as well, we have Venari Sentinels, which were the terror of previous editions. Still are relatively effective, can kick out some auto wounds. And then Venari Dawn Riders, which could potentially get some crit mortals as well in combat, especially against infantry where they unlock more attacks or damage. Then we go to regiment number 3. We have a Sonari Caligrave, which is can change any casting roll to a casting roll of 8, so it's very, very effective at casting spells. And then, weirdly, it has the Perfect Strike, which is once per battle in combat, the enemy suffers D3 plus 3 mortal wounds. If you thought you were just going to rock up to this wizard and just lift it, well, that might still happen if you strike before him. But if you don't pick him up, you're about to eat a really, really nasty sandwich of D3 plus 3 mortal wounds. I believe that is the start of combat. It is a combat phase ability. So if you engage this guy, absolutely nasty little bomb in his back pocket. Then we have the Venari Banner Lord, or Blade Lords, which is just a phenomenal unit of mortal wound doling out with perfect strikes. So it could go perfect strikes, 1 attack apiece, and just do mortal wounds on a 2+, but its other attack profile is 3 attacks apiece with crit mortals, of which I believe Power of Hish would unlock. So it could do, at fully reinforced, that would be 10 miles. That could be 31 attacks on 5+s doing crit mortals. Not bad. Not bad at all. Then we go to regiment number 4. We have a Sonari Lore Seeker, and it is a wizard level 1. And on setup, it could set up anywhere on the board it wants, which is pretty darn cool, especially when setting up for potential casts or tactics or what have you. It has the Phoenix Stone, so that when it dies on a 3+, it is not slain and heals 1. Then we go to the Regiment of Renown. Now this is really unusual. I have not seen it in play before. Elthwyn's Thorns. So on a 3+, okay, so this unit has 12-inch range. I believe 2 or 3 shots apiece. Does decent amount of damage, decent wounds. After it does its shooting, in this regiment, it minuses X from the enemy unit's charge for the following round until its next hero phase, where X is the amount of damage caused by the unit to a maximum of 6. How cool is that? So this unit comes in, flies 12 inches forward, shoots 12 inches, lays down some bow fire, paralyzing or pinning the unit down, preventing it from charging in essence. And then what's also really crazy, on a 3+, in any shooting phase, both the enemy's and yours, it could just teleport. So it also has the ability to D6 fade back. So it could move 12, fire, nerf the charge off an enemy, D6 inches back, and if for whatever reason 3+ teleport, potentially. On the enemy's turn, whatever is within range, it could covering fire, potentially reduce their charge as well, and then on a 3+ teleport and get the heck out of dodge. Failing that, they could D6 and fade back. Not bad. I really like the tech involved in the unit. I like the control element of the unit. Again, the unit has a decent amount of attacks, 2 attacks apiece, 3s, neg 1 damage, and crit auto wound. I dig this list. There's a lot happening here. I just like seeing Lumineth back on the table. So good job, Matthias. Let's get to, oh, we're almost there. We're almost there. All right, the biggest. This is Michael Sabetti's list. If you haven't heard, Michael Sabetti won the Warhammer Open Edmonton with this particular list. I'm not going to say it has a lot happening in it, but the way he plays it very, very well. Timing and positioning is everything. So he took the Taker Tribe list, and that allows him to unlock an extra artifact. He battle tactics wise, drops wise, he went with 3 drops. So he doesn't really care about dictating priority, but feels that he could potentially unlock an extra reroll. It's not going to be as consistent as the 4 or 5s, but considering most of the field, again, is 2 drops, often he will be able to get that reroll. For the battle tactics, he took Intercept and Recover and Restless Energy, both fantastic battle tactics for this style list. If you haven't figured out what this is, I don't think I've even said it. It is a Sons of Behemoth list. So all giants with Kragnos. And why wouldn't you have Kragnos? Kragnos is the donkey extraordinaire. He's 3d6 charged. Every unit wholly within 12 inches of him is an absolute beast in combat. And this list, if like no other, will be leveraging the absolute bejesus out of Power Through. Power Through will be absolutely everything in this list. So 3d6 charge in, and then potentially a 10-inch move back, and constantly husbanding those resources and positioning those giants in phenomenal spots is basically it. In Regiment Number 1, affectionately known as Regiment Number 2, we have King Broad, who is a priest who can keep the big guys going and healing D3 damage, as well as helping with potentially running charges and what have you. In his regiment, he has a War Stomper Mega Gargant. This War Stomper Mega Gargant has anti-infantry, so gets +1 rend. He is monstrously tough, so instead of 35 wounds, he's 40 wounds. And he has extra calloused feet. That's +1 attack, rend, and damage on his nasty stomps. So what does that mean? That nasty stomp will actually have 7 attacks, hitting on 4s, wounding on 2s at -4 damage into infantry, -4 rend into infantry at D3 +1 damage. So that is absolutely nasty when going into the appropriate target. And to be honest, if not even going into infantry, he would still be at -3 rend. Absolutely fantastic. He has taken the Regiment of Renown, the Hurtling Hogs. The regiment is composed of a Tusk Boss and a Maw Grunter Gouger. The Tusk Boss buffs up the momentum of both himself and the Gouger. The Gouger gives strike last to enemy units depending on a die roll amped up by momentum, so that momentum mechanic is important. The Hogs themselves in this regiment have bad D3 mortal wounds on impact, and then also have the ability to rampage D6 in combat, but must end that move in combat. So it could kind of like maneuver around things and potentially get to spots and angles that the enemy wasn't expecting. A really great positional list with phenomenal threat range. Really dense. I believe Mike is trying to figure out whether or not he is able to, whether or not the Suns actually have game going into this season. And having played more games, I think the answer is yes. Initially, I thought they were cooked and they couldn't play with the actual battle tactics. He took Intercept and Recover, for instance, which is the treasure one. I think his army is able to do that. Restless Energy, which is take control of an objective off of an opponent. Again, Giants are very good, have high OCs themselves. So, I don't know. I think this list still has a lot of game into it. But the field of battle is certainly very, very competitive. So best of luck to Mr. Sabetti. Now we go into Mitch Guaja. Mitch is taking Hedonites of Slaanesh. He is taking the Invaders Formation. The Invaders Formation is +1 rend to Sybarite invader units wholly outside of territory. Now this is really, really cool. Normally, everyone in Hedonites takes the one that allows you to fall back and charge or run in charge. I can't remember which one, or maybe it's all those things. So this is a little bit different. What are Sybarite units? Well, we'll get into that in the next few moments. But this is very relevant and plays into the very aggressive style list that this list is. It is a 4-drop list, so Mitch is definitely aiming to get the reroll on a priority. The manifestation lore he took was Aetherwrought Machineries, and again, that's the one with the gears that gives or offers a reroll to charges. His battle tactics are Intercept and Recover and Restless Energy, much like the aforementioned Sons of Behemoth list. This is all about being aggressive and slamming into the enemy. In the General's Regiment, we have Glutos Oscillion, Lord of Gluttony. This big boy is a level 2 wizard, 18 health. And guess what? Is a Sybarite unit. So he will have access to, or will he? See, I'm not sure if +1 rend applies to companion weapons. And if I remember correctly, Glutos is pretty much nothing but companion weapons. So he might not be able to leverage the Invader's buff. Unfortunate if true, but at 18 health makes an absolutely phenomenal target for power through. And he heals himself at the end as well. So he'll come in, smash a guy, power through, and then heal. And that is Glutos. Glutos, absolutely phenomenal model, a phenomenal modeling project as well. In his regiment, he has a Demonette unit, fully reinforced, and it's just basically a giant pile of attacks, crushing you with mathematics. Then we got Mirmidesh Pain Bringers, fully reinforced. Now, these are the Mirmidesh that have a 3+ armor save. No one takes these. Well, guess what? Mitch did, and he took them with Invaders. So that means if they're not within territory, these bad boys get an extra rend. So follow me here. They have 31 attacks off a unit of 10 of these guys. 3s and 3s, neg 1 rend, 1 damage. If they're outside the territory, that's 31 attacks at rend 2. With a 3-up natural armor save. I dig it. I love Mirmidesh Painbringer models. These models are super, super sexy. Love the look of the models. Love the sculpts. GW design department absolutely crushed it out of the park with that. Then he took a random Seeker Chariot, I guess because he needed to fill some points. And then a Sybaresh Twin Souls, fully reinforced yet again. Guess what? Are also Sybarite. As long as they do not charge, they have a 5-up ward. So if you charge into them, they are actually pretty darn tough. I believe they have a natural armor save of 4+ as well. You get -1 to your attacks while within combat range of them. And that is always. If you're within 3 inches of them, -1 to your attacks. Combined with a 5-up ward save, you know where you're starting to understand how tough these guys are. And of course, they can leverage the Invaders' formation, which again, when they push outside of their own territory, they get an extra rend, and these guys have a lot of attacks. We go to regiment number 1, affectionately known as regiment number 2. We got Sigvald, the Prince of Slaanesh. Love the model. Love the fact that this guy's 2 bills. He has charge for a strike, and of course, he is a Sybarite and can take advantage of the Invaders, getting an extra rend. You cannot get any ward saves versus any of his attacks. In the list, or in his regiment, he has the Scourge of Gairan Slangor Fiendbloods. These are fully reinforced, so that's 6 of them. These guys can ambush. So basically at the start of the game, you set them off board, and then they could come in latter turns of the game within 9 inches of any battlefield edge. Again, they could take advantage of the Invaders because they are Sybarites. So it's very easy for them to engineer being outside of their territory. They're ergo getting that extra rend on their attacks. They also have a really cool reaction. They have a 3-inch move with anyone who uses a command within, oh gosh, what is it? I'm going to say 12. I'm going to pull a number out of my butt. I'm sure one of you will correct me. If it's not 12, maybe it's 9. I'm not 100% certain. But within range, they get an ability to just move 3 inches, which is absolutely fantastic. These 6 guys have 25 attacks, force 3s, neg 1, 2 flat damage. Outside of their territory, rend 2, 2 flat damage with all those attacks. They move well. They look awesome. I love it. These guys would pair really well with Bliss Barbs. He didn't take any in this list. Why do I say that? You can have Bliss Barbs shooting at a unit, and maybe they'll issue out an all-out defense. And when they do, all of a sudden these guys shuffle forward 3 inches. And there's not a lot of range elements to kind of trigger that. So that's a little bit unfortunate, but nevertheless, an absolutely fantastic unit. In regiment number 2, affectionately known as regiment number 3, we have a Shard Speaker of Slaanesh, which is just a really good wizard. Well, really good wizard might be overstating it. A wizard 1, alone in her own regiment, and that's simply because Mitch wanted to squeeze more regiments out of it to give you higher drop to unlock that reroll on priority. In regiment number 4, he has a Lord of Pain. That Lord of Pain, if contesting an objective, gets +1 to wound to friendly Sybarite units, wholly within 12 inches of them. That is really, really good, especially when you're talking all those aforementioned Mirmadesh and Twin Soul units. Yeah, +1 to wound really ramps up their damage. He has the Icon of Infinite Excess, which is +1 attack once per battle to a unit wholly within 12 inches of him. Obviously really good. And then he is also a celebrity warlord. I don't know if you heard of him, but he is famous. That guy could bring back a unit that's been destroyed, or at least half of a unit that's been destroyed. So this, I think, is my favorite list of the top 16. I love how much tech is in here. I love how different it is. It's not something I've seen before. Really dig it. Mitch, big thumbs up from me, pal. Hopefully you do really well at the tournament. All right, what do we got left? All right, 4 lists left, and then we're done. All right, we go into Paw Paw. Paw Paw is bringing Cruel Boys to the match. Well, if you have not heard of Cruel Boys before, they have a really cool mechanic called Dirty Tricks. It's all on a die roll. Starts at 2+, and succeed or fail, and then goes to 3+, and then 4+, and then 5+, and then it stalls at 5+. And then at the beginning of every round, it refreshes again and starts at 2+, and so on and so forth. The dirty tricks you can pull off is no charge abilities. So if someone has +1 damage and they're within the range of your dirty trick, you don't get it, so sorry. They can also hand out Strike Last, which is obviously very powerful. They can also give themselves crit 5s on their crit mortal weapons, and there's a lot of crit mortals in a Cruel Boys list. He took the new Scourge of Gairan formation called Swamp Horde Bullies, and basically this involves you having to have 2 units in on one enemy. If you do, you can pick one of those units and add +1 to their attacks. Again, this combines beautifully with the crit mortals that I was referring to. This is a 3-drop list, so obviously not too concerned about priority, and considering the field, or the vast majority of the field, is 2 drops, he will more often than not get a reroll to his priority roll. The Manifestation Lord that he took was, of course, the Manifestation of Gorka Morka, and I gotta say that Manifestation's probably one of the most impactful manifestations in the game. You can fight me for it. Go ahead, comment away. Meet you behind the portables. Battle tactic. He took Wrathful Cycles, Intercept, and Recover. In the General's Regiment, of course he took Kragnos because he is the best of donkeys, offering 3d6 charge to all your units wholly within 12 inches. How could you possibly say no to that? And it gets even grosser when combining him with the Killer Boss on Corpse Ripa Vulture, which is basically the old Stonehorn attacks. Basically, you roll the attacks, and then let's just say you rolled a 10 because you're 3d6'd in there. You then roll 10 dice and on 4, 5s, and 6s you cause a mortal wound, so combines beautifully with the donkey. On the Corpse Racer Vulture, he has the ability to Slippery Scumbag, and 3+ leave combat. So picture this, he can 3d6 charge while within Kragnos' bubble, smash in with all those mortals. At that beginning of that combat, on a 3+, he can then peace out, move 12 inches back into the bubble of Kragnos, and all is good with the world. Love the combination of it. Pretty darn good. Marshcrawler Slogoth. Basically, this is the guy with the bongo drums in the back. Those bongo drums can make units wholly within 12 inches run and charge. Then he's got a unit of, min unit, there's no other choice of units of Monster Killers, which is just generally good. 3 attacks apiece, crit mortals, have fantastic abilities versus monsters. Then we go into regiment number 1, affectionately known as regiment number 2. We got a Swamp Caller Shaman, which is the best orc wizard in the game, with a native basically +1 to cast. He has a Swamp Staff giving him an extra spell, so he's a 2-cast wizard. In his regiment, he has a unit or 2 units of fully reinforced Gut Rippers. That is 20 Gut Rippers. Each one has 2 attacks. If they also Swamp Horde Bullies, could have 3 attacks. So that's 61 attacks if you could pull it off with crit mortals. Pretty damn good. Then we go to regiment number 3. We have a Break a Boss on Meyer Brute Trogoth. He can pull on the harness to inflict D3 mortal wounds to the Trogoth, and by doing so, for every mortal wound that Trogoth takes, he could get 2 additional attacks. Now he starts at base, I believe, 4 attacks. So the maximum he could squeeze out of that ability is to eat 3 and get 6 attacks. He can then go to 10 attacks. Well, at 10 attacks, things get super serious. Why? Well, first off, he combined it with Meanin, which is one of the Scourge of Ghyran new monstrous traits, to give the companion weapons, to which the Trogoth's flails are considered companion weapons, a +1 to hit. He can then hit with 10 attacks, hitting on 3s, wounding on 2s, at neg 1 or 2 rend at 3 flat damage. Not bad at all. Love it. Love Meanin. Thank you, Games Workshop, for that. Now let's talk about the faction terrain. I don't normally break huge into the faction terrain, mostly because most faction terrain offers a really cool ability and it's done. This, though, is worth talking about, and that's a Scaregob Totem. Now, the Scaregob Totem offers Kruleboy units wholly within 12 inches of it, +1 to their dirty tricks. And that changes the math massively. If the totem is garrisoned, that bubble goes to 18 inches. So that means on the start of any turn, this offers the Kruleboy's player the ability to really mitigate priority. What I mean by that is, if the enemy takes it, if they're within 18 inches, so wanting to close in that charge and get within 18 inches of that totem by accident, it's a really big bubble, he might not even have a choice. Because it's the start of a round, and this offers a +1 to that die roll, it turns the die roll of 2+ to a 1+, making it automatic. So you can automatically make a unit strike last going into round 2. That is absolutely tremendous. Now, it only happens in one spot, and but is absolutely fantastic, especially if that unit that charged in somehow clipped a second unit, because that would then trigger Swamp Horde Bullies, and allow the Kruleboy's player to then get another attack, giving potentially Gut Rippers or Monster Killers. Monster Killers are 3 attacks apiece. They go to 4 attacks apiece. There's 7 of them in a unit. That's 28 attacks on crit mortals. Fantastic. Scaregob is definitely something that the Cruel Boys players' opponents will want to delete and remove off the board. This will also be something that Paul will potentially want to deploy aggressively. So ones that have territories that divide the table, he might want to place it fairly forward so that when he does get into it and garrison it, that the 18-inch bubble covers more of the table. But that'll be the push and pull of it, because deploy it too aggressively and the opponent might smash it off the table. Deploy it too conservatively and it might not be as effective as it could be. I love Cruel Boys, and the adjustments that the design team has done to try to recover this army has been very, very appreciated. I really love where Cruel Boys are at. So although Mitch's list is my favorite list of the pack, this is closest to my heart. All right, let's go to Raymond Lint's list. We're down to the last three, folks. He's rocking Stormcast Eternals. He's taking Lightning Echelon. And on a 3+, the Extremist Chamber unit can gain first strike. The Stormcasts, just so you know, also have a cool ability of being able to recur any non-hero units and bring back half of that unit back onto the table, which is very, very relevant. Raymond took 5-drop list, obviously gunning for that reroll. Manifestation lore, he took Manifestation of the Storm, basically his faction ability. It's got some cool manifestations in it. I don't mind the Comet, doles out some mortal wounds, plus that little disc thing that gives the wizard a bunch of movement. I thought that was pretty relevant as well. Battle tactics, what did he take? He took Scouting Force and Master the Paths. In his general's regiment, he has a Lord Terminos, and that Lord Terminos can add to the control of a unit and can get quasi strike first if he attacks. He could give another unit the ability to activate, kind of giving him quasi strike first. So how do you actually give him strike first? Well, give him the Quicksilver draft. So now when you engage him, he gets the strike first, and then the unit beside him then gets a strike right after he does, which is absolutely fantastic. And he will most likely be buried in a unit of Occlusians. I guess we'll get to that in the next little bit. He has a Knight Judicator with Gryph-hounds, and this is kind of a nasty little sniper unit. While those Gryph-hounds are kicking around, this unit has 3 attacks, 2s and 2s, neg2 rend, 3 flat damage. He has 2 of these guys in his army. So he is really looking at sniping some potential monsters that will not be taking advantage of obscuring. And any unit that pops their head out of the shadow of those trees or terrain will suffer the wrath of the bowfire coming from these guys. In the regiment is a fully reinforced unit of Reclusians, and of course will be hand in hand with the Lord of Terminos. In Regiment Number 1, affectionately known as Regiment Number 2, we have a Lord Knight Arcanum. Just a Knight Arcanum. He has a +1 to cast any manifestation spells, and he also gets a bonus to banish enemy manifestation spells, and gains a 4+ ward versus manifestations, and manifestations can't get within 3 inches of him. So basically, he can never be charged by enemy or opposing enemies' manifestations. He could charge them, but they can't charge him. In Regiment Number 3, we have, again, that second Knight Judicator unit with Gryph-hounds. That's that bowfire guy. And then we have a Quester Soulsworn, and then Stormstrike Paladors. The Stormstrike Paladors will be unlocking strike first if a chamber unit dies. And of course, that's that Quester Soulsworn unit that I referred to. In Regiment Number 4, we have a Lord Relictor. This little super priest gets +1 to pray. And then again, he's all by himself. Again, Raymond is looking at leveraging that reroll on a priority. In Regiment Number 5, we have Vandus Hammerhand. Not something you see typically rocking across the table. This guy has a +3 to control for warrior chamber units around him. And then after he attacks, or they attack, another unit can attack and get a +1 to hit. Normal versions of that ability are very specific types of units. So for instance, the Chaos Knight Lord only looks at other Chaos Cavalry. The Marshal on Cav only looks at other Cav units. What's interesting about Vandus is Vandus does that to any unit around him, which I absolutely love. I do not like the design currently of the heroes being able to not look at the rest of their army. Vandus is a real hero and a real leader of man. And yeah, I love the fact he could grab any unit around him and allow them to then attack and get a +1 attack. In his regiment, he has a unit of fully reinforced Dracothian Desolators. Again, this is a fast-moving, hard-hitting, very tough, and most likely the unit that Vandus will be using those abilities on. And of course, being a Stormcast player, you cannot say no to the Stormcast portal. All right, last two. We got my man Ruben. My man Ruben is rocking Slaves to Darkness. Guess what? Dark Oath. Yes, sirree Bob. He has taken a Dark Oath Horde. Now, what is a Dark Oath Horde, you might be asking? Well, on a 3+, Ruben will be able to recur half a unit that was previously destroyed, wholly within 6 inches of any board edge, and just outside of 3 inches of enemy. That is a really, really cool unit. So as you crush these Marauder units, they'll start springing off on the edges of the board, threatening characters potentially that you were not thinking were in danger, capping units or capping objectives you thought weren't able to be capped. It will put his enemy on his heels as they try to figure out where in the heck he's able to go. Love this already. This is a 5-drop list. Again, Ruben is looking to get that reroll for priority when he wants it. He took Aetherwrought Machineries. This is again the gears that gives that reroll charge. And then his battle tactics is Master of the Paths and Scouting Force. In the General's Regiment, he took Gunner Brand. I am not 100% certain why he took this, other than the fact that it's really flipping cool. This regiment has a wizard in it. Gunner's okay. I mean, if he's banging into a hero, he has the potential to fight twice. But I mean, he has to survive. The guy's an absolute flyweight. Maybe there's some tech I'm not quite appreciating here. But other than the fact that he's just super, super cool, I'm not 100% certain why you'd want to take him. In Regiment number 1, affectionately known as Regiment number 2, we have a Chaos Lord. That's right, a big bad Lord on Demonic Mount. And this guy is being partnered with a whole reinforced unit of Chaos Knights with a Dread Banner. And the Dread Banner, of course, denies all commands to any enemy units that are within 3 inches of it. This is a fast-moving, hard-hitting unit on the charge. And in combination with the Chaos Lord giving a +1 to wound, potentially if both are in, and the ability to activate the actual Chaos Knights after he's attacked, this is a hell of a 1-2 punch into any unit, and an actual serious hammer, as well as a backup anvil, because this is just an enormous amount of wounds on a 3+ save. We go to Regiment number 2, affectionately known as Regiment number 3. We have a Dark Oath Chieftain, and with that Dark Oath Chieftain, we have Dark Oath Wilder Fiends, and these guys recycle bodies like nobody's business, convert them into power, and then shoot them out like lasers of mortal wound damage. I love Wilder Fiends, love the models as well. He took 2 of them, so each one will have a different variant, which will be absolutely fantastic. Personally, I probably would have taken maybe a bit more, but how many Wilder Fiends can you fit in a list? I fit in 4, I think, in one list. Then we go to regiment number 4, another Dark Elf Chieftain. Again, he could fight, then activate another unit and give them +1 attack. That's basically what the Chieftains give. He has Varanite Shackles, which is pick a unit of Marauders, basically, of Dark Oath, that are wholly within 12 and give him a 6+ ward. He then has 1, 2, 3 units of fully reinforced Marauders. And these Marauders are basically nothing but glass. But fully reinforced means at least 10 guys will be coming back when they do die. When they die, though, on a 5+, they dish out a mortal wound back. And that is where the secret sauce is of this list. So as these Marauders start dying, they shunt back mortal wounds on a 5+ back to the opponent, get collected by the Wilder Fiends, that then convert their souls into mortal wound lasers. And then they get recycled, start scoring battle tactics, potentially diving into the grind of melee again, and then get recycled one more time, dishing out more mortal wounds when they die. I love it. And then we go to regiment number 5. We got again another Dark Oath Chieftain, but this time with 2 min units of Marauders. All right, last list. We got Yuri. Yuri, the no damage. He is rocking Night Haunt. Now, Night Haunt going into this season, absolutely spicy. These guys have, all Night Haunt, if you don't know, have an armor save that cannot be modified. Vast majority of the armies, a 4+ armor save, Chain Rats are 5+. But whatever their armor save is, regardless of how much rend you have, they basically have a 4+ invulnerable save. Absolutely phenomenal. Really relevant when you're talking about all-out attack. Because in this season, all-out attack gives you +1 to your hit, but then reduces your armor. But because they're ghosts and they're ethereal armor saves cannot be modified in any shape, way, or form. So all the ghosts could take advantage of all-out attack without any of the downsides. Very nice. Very, very nice. All right, so what formation did he pick? He picked Deathstalkers, but of course, and this offers a run, charge, and retreat to 1 unit in his army. The manifestation lore that he picked was Forbidden Power, and this is one with all the massive amounts of templates. One of them kind of interrupts some flyers, but typically what you're really all about for Forbidden Power is using all those templates to interrupt charges. And because he typically flies, he's not affected as badly, but interrupts and messes around with all the ground movement of his opponent. His battle tactics that he picked was Restless Energy and Scouting Force. Now, Night Haunt have this really cool ability that when they charge, they trigger different debuffs. One, when heroes charge, they basically make that enemy unit strike last. So super, super important. When infantry units charge, they get a -1 to hit. So infantry unit charges, enemy unit gets a -1 to hit. When Cavs charge, they curse the enemy unit with a -1 save. They also have on tap a 5+ ward for 1 CP. It's their version of all-out defense, except just better, because all-out defense doesn't work for them because they can't get a modifier, either negative or positive, from all-out defense, so they get this instead, and they get a 5+ ward on top of their 4+ armor save, which is just absolutely fantastic. So let's talk about the General's Regiment, which is all rock, the Drowner, This guy's a teleporting machine, an absolutely gorgeous, stunning model. He picks a unit wholly within 12 inches of it and teleports itself and that unit across the table and deep strikes that unit wholly outside of 7 inches of the enemy instead of 9. Really, really good. Then he has 2 reinforced units of Blade Geists. And Blade Geists are absolute blender units. Each one of them has 3 attacks. So, geez, 20 of them can have 60 attacks, 3s on 3s, neg 1, 1 damage. That is an enormous volume of attacks. He then took, of course, the Scourge of Gairan Black Coach. And the Black Coach has got an enormous amount happening with it. It's got pick 1 objective that you do not control, and that enemies on that objective do not get any type of crit rolls on any of their weapons. That's cool. It can do crit mortals itself on the companion, so it can flip from crit auto wound to crit mortals on its companion attacks, which it has plenty. It can help with rallying units around it. It adds a +3 to the rally, not +3 as in +3 to 3 dice to the roll. No. You get 3 rally points, meaning they've already converted, and you could raise 3 additional models or heal 3 additional wounds. It can count as a wizard of 1, and it can get 3d6 charge. This thing does everything. It's absolutely gorgeous. I know it already has a lot, but I really wish this thing was a hero and could actually lead regiments. I think that would have been absolutely fantastic. Maybe that would have broken the universe. Maybe not in combination with all these rules, but I do wish it was a hero style character. In the first regiment, affectionately known as Regiment Number 2, we have a Knight of Shrouds. And the Knight of Shrouds has a Heal X ability. So basically, as it does damage to a unit, it converts that damage into healing power for itself. It can trigger a fight, meaning after it swings, it can pick another unit beside him, and that unit can then fight and get a +1 to hit as well. It has Spectral Ruler of the Spectral Hosts, which when a unit dies, he can bring back half a unit onto the table. And then it has a Light Shard of the Harvest Moon, which is +1 attack while wholly within 12 inches of it. So that Knight of Shrouds is quite the boss. In that regiment with the Knight of Shrouds is a Hexwraith unit fully reinforced. This is a fast mobile unit. Again, when cavalry charges into the enemy, that unit suffers a -1 to its save. It also has impact hits on bad D3s. And then also in the regiment is a Hexwraith unit, min unit of Hexwraiths, as opposed to a fully reinforced unit. There to probably do some tactics, act as a screen and what have you. The Nexus of Grief. This Nexus of Grief is really, really interesting. And I'm assuming in the not too distant future, we'll receive an actual points, a points value attached to it, probably 20 points like all the others. What does it do? 3 units wholly within 12 inches of it heal D3, or it returns D3 wounds worth of models. This thing can also teleport, or parts of it can teleport across the field, so position itself to be able to hand out those healing. And then if enemy get within 3 inches of it, they are not allowed to use commands. This is a terrain piece. Hot dang. Absolutely phenomenal. Really great list. An all right guy. With a fantastic brother. Both of them will be playing this weekend. And that, holy cow, brings us to the end of this stream. Folks, thank you so much if you survived to this point watching the stream. Comment below. I have not been paying attention to any comments. Apologies for that, but I just really wanted to power through all of this. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that, and we'll catch you this Saturday as we actually stream the action. So hopefully you'll be there. And with that, I think I'm going to bid you all a farewell. Hopefully you have a fantastic evening, morning, wherever you are in the world. And we'll catch you this Saturday.